Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah. That's the one where the corpses start eating the people, right? Sure. What about it?
Did you know that movie was based on a true case?
Oh, come on, you're shitting me, right?
I ain't never been more serious in my life.
That's not possible. I mean, they showed zombies taking over the world.
Well, they changed it all around. What really happened was, back in 1969 in Pittsburgh at the VA hospital, there was a chemical spill, and all that stuff kind of leaked down into the morgue, and it made all the dead bodies kind of jump around as though it was alive.
What chemical?
2,4,5-trioxin, it's called. It was to kind of spray on marijuana or something, and the Darrow Chemical Company was trying to develop it for the Army. And they told the guy who made the movie that if he told the true story, they'd just sue his ass off, so he changed all the facts around.
So what really happened?
Well, they closed it all down, see? And the Army shipped all that contaminated dirt and all those dead bodies out. And they kept it a secret.
So how come you know about it?
What typical Army fuck-up. The transportation department got the orders crossed.
One more episode to get wrapped up before a nice little summer holiday.
That's it.
That's it. Just one more. That's all we've got to do. We've just got to stay awake for another couple of hours, and we can then go rest our old adult bodies and just chill for a bit before the busy autumn season of horror. And more horror.
Oh yeah,
can't wait. Horror.
Sound like Nixon.
Gallimagno. Yes, that's how we start our Dreadcast podcast.
There we go.
Episode 54.
54. The big 5-4.
I was longing it out just to make sure you confirmed that, because every week I forget.
I definitely remember it being 54.
Because
week, yeah. I remember the tweet I did for the episode last 53.
Oh, which was what? What do we do?
The Hexorcist.
The Hexorcist.
The Hexorcist.
Yeah.
La Exorcista. Yeah.
I'm sure there is a film called The Hexorcist, actually.
It probably is.
Hang on. Now you said it. That, as good as your joke was, it feels too real. I know that. I do know, unfortunately, there is the Sexorcist.
There's a band called Hexorcist.
Is there now? Is there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Hex. Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at this. Or there's this, the Hexorcist, a supernatural speakeasy cozy mystery.
There's also something in Warhammer 40k.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Hexorcist, the Inquisition acolytes. There you go.
Oh my God, someone's done a Keith Flint Warhammer 40k, but it's called Mr. Keith Flint. Hang on, I'm probably describing this wrong. You need to look at this.
Oh, I think I've just seen it.
We'll be back to the Dreadcast in a moment. This is taken.
I think I've just found the same Reddit post. Oh yeah,
that's awesome. This is the most ADHD intro to the podcast so far.
I know it is. We're all over the place. You can tell it's end of the week, Friday. My brain is just pinballing around the place.
Welcome back to Dreadcast, folks. It's episode 54, and today was my pick of this month. Last week was The Exorcist being your pick, being one Aidan Half Troll. Myself, hello. Tom Zeller, hello. And this is today's film, which we'll get into in a minute because we've got a few things. I've got one thing to show and tell first, which is related to today's film, and I do hope you have something to shoehorn in Texas Chainsaw related this week. I have a bit. I have something. I have something minimal to talk about related to it.
I actually don't. I don't think I have anything this week, Tom. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, that's all right. That's all good. That's all right. I got a little something. But we'll get into the film in a minute. The film, one of my favorite horror films of all time. One of my favorite films, probably in top 20. This is probably one of my favorite top 20 films of all time. Yeah. By your response there, I feel like we're going to have different opinions here.
No, well, I'm not. I won't. Yeah, well, I won't go quite that hard.
No,
I wouldn't go quite that hard. But I know you're. I know you're a big fan.
Yeah,
I know you're a big fan.
Well, sure, a big fan. This is something I didn't show you last week, but I did send you pictures. Now, to the audio folks, this is going to be a bit tough, but I'll try and describe it. On my birthday was a lovely, lovely gift from a wonderful person, and it's a 1 to 6 scale. Trick or treat. This is not Necker now. Oh, there's the ring light.
It's very nice.
1 to 6 scale. Oh my god, it's so big. It's so big. Way. I have to take it out. It's 1 to 6 scale of Tarman from Return of the Living Dead. Today's film, in case I didn't mention it. And it's huge. Like I'm not used to a figure this big. Look at this boy. That is
quite the figure.
Now, I think like we talked when we talked about figures. I think I showed the Halloween one. We were talking about how like certain figures you keep in the box, certain come out.
Yes.
This will be one that will be coming out because I feel like it needs. So I'm gonna get it out. I'm gonna whip it out. I'm gonna whip it out, and we get a better
on camera.
I'm gonna whip it out on camera. We'll get demonetized. Not that we make money anyway, but we'll get some sort of strike.
Negative.
Yeah, and we're gonna. This is a live. Don't the kids love that? They live. I love
unboxing. Yeah, that's it.
If only this was a loot crate. Oh my god. Here we go.
Or something Roblox or.
I don't even know what Roblox. I know.
I don't know what it is. I know the name.
Oh, he feels Prime. He feels so gooey. He feels so gooey.
Is he actually gooey to the touch? Is he actually?
It's like silicone.
Oh really?
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
He's all got opposable arm. I wish as we'll talk about, I assume we'll talk about Tarman. I kind of wish his limbs were obviously opposable, but kind of Stretch Armstrong-y a bit. Oh, right. Just, like they could go anywhere because
a little bit more wibbly.
The actor that played Tarman was just he was in his element. Look at this. It's so good.
It's very like I like how he's a little bit boss-eyed.
He's a little bit boss-eyed, actually, isn't he? I don't know what we can do about that. But there's
I like his dangly bits.
There's such a sheen, such a gross sheen on him.
He does look damp.
He is very damp.
Which is accurate, you know, and I think that's obviously what they're going for. I mean, I like the fact that it is silicone,
like
covered.
It's all like
flappy bits.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is such a cool.
Nice.
Little...
Does he have any accessories?
He does indeed. Thank you for asking.
You're quite welcome.
He has
interested to know.
He has 2. He doesn't have the Guy Fieri hairstyle, unfortunately, like Michael from Halloween 2. He has a
no ticket to Flavortown for this guy.
Well, you say that. He has an opposable mouth that can open and close. Brains. But just I don't know if it comes up on camera. Look how gooey his head looks.
Yeah, he does look very gooey. I mean, that's accurate. That's good. That's a good detail. Yeah, he does. He looks very slimy and shiny.
Yeah. What I found out, and again, we'll talk about the film, but Tarman, the actor that played Tarman, was very, very slim in appearance, similar to the actor that played the alien. Aidan. So the costume they made for him, he was so thin that they could put like prosthetic bones on top of his body, but yet it wouldn't look out of place. His arms would still look at a good thickness, you know. So that's why he could be like that, be all crazy, be all like jiving and moving around. Oh, dropped his head. And the other accessory is is a nice little brain.
A brain.
Little brain.
Oh, I thought he'd come with his canister as well. That's a bit of a shame.
Look closely.
There's a bite mark in it.
Ooh. Yeah.
Nice.
So I assume the head can maybe the little diorama maybe. Yeah, I thought that as well. A little can of trioxin would be cool. That would be a cool little thing. But there's another figure of Tarman about with it's actually like a diorama of him. I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what he's on, but it's a lot. It's about half the size of this, I believe. But yeah, cool little. I've never looked at Trick or Treat Studios, although I feel like they do a good Terrifier model. They're a lot more detailed. They're kind of like they feel like the equivalent of like Hot Toys. You know, Hot Toys do the really good. Like superhero figures, whatnot. But yeah, little Tarman. Wonder if he can sit on my shoulder.
He's cool. Oh, well, just having a look at the Trick or Treat Studios website, they have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre collection. So there you go. I've managed to shoehorn something in.
Well done, sir. Well done. We got it. We got them.
Oh wow! Actually, I might.
Come on.
There's a collection of miniatures.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
$25. That's actually pretty good price as well.
$25? That feels incredibly cheap.
It does, unless the shipping will probably be nightmarish though.
Yeah, that I would have thought so.
But that is.
Well, they do masks as well.
They do bunch of masks. Yeah.
Wow.
This is cool. House of 1,000 Corpses. Oh, they got some D&D stuff.
They have the Halloween.
Clowns.
They have the Halloween board game.
A bunch of Toxic Crusader stuff.
Oh wow! It's a bigger store than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, fantastic.
Have a look at that in more detail another time. But yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they ship to jolly old England.
Yes, it was them that did the Terrifier figure, $130. Yeah, and a Dr. Satan figure. Holy hell! Okay, yeah, I'll be checking this out later. That's cracking.
Oh, they've got some Ghoulies prop replicas as well.
Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Yeah.
Yeah. They come from the toilet.
Ghoulies is a great film.
Ghoulies is good, yeah. So that's my not much else of a show and tell really this week.
No,
that's a pretty hectic personal week.
Yeah, same. I haven't really had much time for anything else. I think the latest thing I had was the Legion.
Yes.
The Legion novel.
Yes.
That we looked at last time. And yeah, nothing new, I'm afraid. But I was going to ask, because you mentioned you were going to, I'm assuming you watched some extras for this this week's film. Is that?
Well.
Right.
That's it, right. We'll get today's episode starting now. This is Return of the Living Dead, folks. I did watch some extras, but I did not watch the extras that are on my 4K collector's edition. There's a reason behind that. So, the 4K collector's edition, which I stupidly don't have on me, it's downstairs. It's from Scream Factory. Is it? I always forget. Is it Shout Factory or Scream Factory? Shout Factory. So there are. Wait, hang on. Is Scream Factory a sort of subsidiary of? Okay, Scream Factory is like their horror base. It's Shout Factory. Right. It looks like Scream Factory is their like minor company. So Scream Factory is like Arrow Films or Vinegar Syndrome in America, American based. I don't know what you call it. A restoration company that re-release old films into 4K, upscale them, and do some incredible collector's editions. Like I highly recommend checking them out if you're a collector or love physical editions. I've got a few from there, and I got the Return of the Living Dead 1 4K Collector's Edition, unfortunately from eBay, because there's some issues with Shout Factory posting to the UK. So the whole other kettle of fish. But I got it from eBay, basically the same thing. 3 discs. You get a 4K edition, you get a Blu-ray edition, and you get the special features. Watch the 4K edition. It's beautiful. It's a really crisp copy. Mm-hmm. Went to watch the special features DVD disc, and I'm using a PlayStation 5 which runs 4K discs. Wouldn't work. It said it's stated invalid region, and I've always been under the impression region locks are gone nowadays.
That's what I thought as well.
Well, if the 4K disc worked, but the special features disc wouldn't. So that's much more of an incentive that I really want to get a 4K player for the future. Hopefully a region-free one. But what I did watch, I found the 20th anniversary behind the scenes online, and I watched it, and it's I'll link it to you later, so you just skip through it. The way it's produced, it's about half hour long. Fly on the Wall doc, it interviews with the actors and stuff, and Dan O'Bannon, the director. The way it's produced, it's like an MTV behind the scenes. It feels it feels very early 2000s. Like the camera is like this. Mm-hmm. There's some really like jazzy lighting on them. The transitions are. It's like the transition's going to cut to Carson Daly on TRL. So that I'm
imagining Cribs, lots of like sections rewound and like.
Yeah, so that was the cast of Return of the Living Dead. Up next, Justin Timberlake with his new song. But it's really cool, really interesting. A lot of the stuff I did know beforehand. That this film, I have a lot of knowledge, just like. Unnecessary, non-useful knowledge of this film just in the back of my head, but I knew about it. But it was cool to see like interviews with, say, Linnea Quigley, Dan O'Bannon, James Karen. Love James Karen. But yeah, it's cool. There's a lot of really interesting stuff. It's about half hour long. So it's an interesting watch.
That's good.
And it's on YouTube.
Oh, so yeah, I'll check it out. Like I say, send me the link. I only mention it really because we were talking about. Sort of letting those extras and things slide past and not actually taking advantage of getting there. So, do you remember you saying you were going to check them out in advance of this?
Yeah, I wish I could. I mean, even the 4K edition. I'm looking on the back. It's got full audio commentary with nearly all the cast as well. Mm-hmm. Like not just the director, all the cast. It's a really good copy.
That's good.
So
I think I prefer cast commentaries over director commentaries. To some extent.
Yeah, I guess it would depend on the director as well. Mm-hmm. Like Friedkin's a madman, so they worked. Yeah. I don't think I'd like commentary by someone like Taika Waititi. I feel like it would get old very quick. Just off the top of my head.
That's the thing. I just think with the cast, because you've probably got more than 2 or 3 people in there, you just get a bit more bang for your buck usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was going to say something then, and it's completely gone out of my head. So we'll move on.
Well, had you seen this film before?
Yes, but many moons ago, and I didn't like. I was watching it. I watched it last night, and I was watching it, and I was thinking, "Oh yeah, I've seen this. I know I've seen this." And then maybe 30 minutes in, I was thinking, "But I don't really remember much of it." Yeah. So. But then I kind of remembered the end. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I had seen it before, but it's been that long ago that I'd forgotten practically everything. Yeah. And I think that the bits that were most familiar to me was probably because it crops up a lot on documentaries, and certainly in the last few months I've watched like the In Search of Darkness docs again. Yeah. And a bunch of other documentaries, like kind of specifically on 80s horror as well. So I think the bits that were most familiar to me were just because I've seen them all crop up on documentaries. So it was kind of a fresh watch, but I'm pretty sure years ago, I have seen it all. I've kind of suspect I've maybe lumped it in with Reanimator in my head as well. I think
Okay,
I was.
yeah.
I think I was kind of. I bet if I watched Reanimator like today, if I watched Reanimator again right now, I'd probably be like, oh, that's where that scene comes from. I think I was expecting things to happen that weren't happening, and I was like, but
I mean,
suspect.
Came out the same year.
Yeah, and I think they've got the same sort of broadly the same sort of tone and style. So I've got a sneaking suspicion that I've kind of merged the two in my head. But yeah,
are you familiar as well at all with the rest of the franchise?
I am aware. I'm in so much as I'm aware of it. Like I can honestly say I don't think I've seen any of the sequels.
Okay.
And I think I only learned the other day there's 5. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
I was definitely aware of the 3, and I think the 3 crops up quite a lot. And for some reason, the third movie seems to be a lot more common than any of the other ones when you're searching for, to purchase or whatever. Or even just seeing out in the wild. I feel like I've seen Return of the Living Dead 3 on shelves left, right, and centre.
It stands alone a lot more. Part 2 is basically the first film, again in a different setting. It really is. Still good. Not. I prefer 3 over 2. 3 is actually directed by Brian Usner. Of Society fame. He did Society. But 3, it loses a bit more, loses a lot of the comedy, takes it more in a more serious route, but has a new sort of concept for its zombie tone, a new sort of context for zombie tone, where our main lead and his girlfriend, she becomes infected with the trioxin, and she's slowly becoming the zombie throughout. And over time, you've probably seen the poster of her with like all these mad shit on her. Yeah. She I guess self-mutilates and self-harms to help the pain go away.
Okay.
And it's just a really cool, slow transformation. It's a really gory film as well, but I really like that film. It's just a great standalone film. It's every year on Halloween, I always try to put a list out to people saying like, here's a list of films you may not have heard of that I feel like, why not give them a go? They're interesting horror films you probably never heard of. Don't need to sit down and watch Saw. I always shit on The Conjuring. I'm sorry, people that like Conjuring. Or Insidious or It. You don't need to. There's a whole world of horror films out there that you've probably never heard of. Go check them out. Go see what hour and a half. It's fine. Yeah. Then we go to 4 and 5, which these do not need to go on that list. I just said. Necropolis and then Rave to the Grave.
Rave to the Grave, yeah.
Is
I've heard
exactly
very, very bad.
I mean, just the title, the bad title should say enough, right? I mean, but yeah, as a first 3 trilogy, solid little watch. This is one of my, I forget favorite film, but this is one of my favorite horror films. Not top 5, but favorite horror films. I could sit and watch this easily every now and then and just enjoy it, and it's fun. It's a fun film. You don't need to take it seriously. And it's, for one thing, I'll start off with saying... I mean,
why would you?
No.
Why would you take it seriously?
No, you can't. For one thing, I'll start saying, this is like one hell of a great 80s cast. You've got like Tom Matthews, who plays our lead in Freddy. It's Tommy Jarvis from Part 6 of the second best Tommy Jarvis, in my opinion, from Part 6 of Friday the 13th. Yes, my friend. Yes,
of course it is.
Yeah,
all the way through, I was thinking, I recognise this son of a bitch.
You got James Cameron playing Frank, who's his new boss at You Need a Medical Supply. James Cameron was in Poltergeist. You got Clu Gulager, who was in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 as the dad in that. We got Linnea Quigley, who gets chest out in everything she's in, like in Silent Night, Deadly Night. We got
she's sleazy horror.
Yeah.
Icon.
We got Miguel Nunez, who can't eat enchiladas from Friday the 13th Part 5. You remember him?
Yes.
He gets killed in the porter cabin. because he got them damn enchiladas. Yeah, it's a great. I love it. It's a great cast. And I think that adds to the fun of it, because as well the characters that these casts play are so diverse. Like our main group is just from it's like picking one from every like I don't know what we call it, group of different type of people.
Like stereotype, yeah. They're a colourful bunch, I think, is one way to describe them. Like, very. Well, it was one of my first notes. It was like punks looking to party, and it's going to be totally rad. And it's like that just kind of sums up the entirety of it.
The thing is, most of them are punks, but then you look at Tina and Freddie.
Well, yeah, and you think that there must just not be any other young people.
No one
in town that they can hang out with. Yeah, they don't really fit. They don't really fit the group. But just just there was a lot of like aesthetic choices, like the chains, and
this is a way of life, man.
A lot of what's it called? Class of Nukem High. It's that kind of,
I know what you mean.
That kind of aesthetic. That kind of 80s punk. And like to the nth degree, like almost a caricature of itself. Yeah, it was great. It was good fun.
So I mean, it's quite a popular horror film. Again, I don't think we need to go through step by step, scene by scene, unless you had notes down like that. I was just going to briefly explain the plot.
Go for it.
I am definitely not reading this off a website, and I have definitely written my own plot in detail, because I have all the time in the world for that. When foreman Frank James Cameron shows new employee Freddie Tom Matthews a secret military experiment in the supply warehouse, the two klutzes, they are klutzes, accidentally release a gas that reanimates corpses into flesh-eating zombies. As the epidemic spreads through Louisville, Kentucky, and the creatures satisfy their hunger in gory and outlandish ways, Frank and Freddie fight to survive with the help of their boss, Lou Gulager, and the mysterious mortician, Don Calfa. Shall we say, the mortician who is packing heat.
Yes. Why? Why is he packing heat?
Yeah. Yeah, he's very what's the phrase? He's not quick on the trigger. He's like, he's very anxious with the gun.
He is. But why is he wearing a gun anyway? Why?
I don't know.
It's like he's seen too many horror films and doing an autopsy. So he's keeping that thing on him just in case.
He may have done, because this film is meta as hell.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, like this is meta before Scream.
Mm-hmm.
Like way before Scream. When Frank's telling Freddy about the bodies in the basement, but they are the bodies from Night of the Living Dead. Which actually happened. So that scene alone, I love James Cameron's acting, because it's so over the top. It's like, the bodies.
He's like, do you want to see him?
The bodies. And then that's the beginning of his peak, because later on his overacting when he's slowly becoming a zombie. Oh god!
Oh,
he's wailing.
Just to talk about his character, though, I mean,
the
synopsis, and I think most of them will describe him as a klutz or hapless buffoon that sets, and he very much falls into that mold straight away. But he doesn't start out like that. Like right at the beginning, when he's showing Freddy about, he's like quite professional, and I was like believing him and buying him as like, oh yeah, this is, and he's got this young kid and he's showing him the ropes, and then it's like on a dime he just turns into this absolute imbecile. It just comes from out of nowhere. Like 1 minute he's like quite a serious guy, and then the next, absolute incompetent.
Man, now you've said that, you've talked about it at the beginning, I do want to go through the film. It's too good not to. When he's trying to like guide Freddy on his first day at the medical supply warehouse, which I love. It's called You Need a medical supply. There's a few small gags like that just work. Like in the office, if you look, there's an eye examination chart behind where they're talking, and if you look closely, it says Bert is a slave driver. Bert being his boss. It's just a few little things that, But yeah, he's a lot more. All right, Freddy, this is what we do here. This is it, and then we do this, and then we do this by the book, and this is it. And then 5 minutes later, when the zombies are like, when you've got half a dog barking on the floor, he's like, oh god, oh no! He just flips.
That is, I mean, just talking about the site chart, which I didn't notice, and it might have had something to do with a pin-up that's also visible in the back.
There is.
But the detail, there's a lot of little detail, and when things first do kick off, we get the half dogs have come to life, but also it was a nice little touch that the butterflies that pinch the board are also like moving again as well.
Yeah, completely.
Nice little attention to detail there, which could have easily like not been included or overlooked or something, but it was a nice little touch. And I think talking about it being meta, I think the whole thing plays like a punk rock version of Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, like it's kind of a remake beat for beat, like, and the whole. I mean, they hole up in where, the mortuary or whatever, they're boarding the windows up and all that sort of stuff, and it does very much play out like Night of the Living Dead does itself. So it's good that it's very self-aware, and
that's throughout, because like
and I'm sure that's deliberate as well.
Love the phrase about it worked in the movies. Like I love, like, why is it not working now? It's like, I don't know. It for a zombie film, as goofy as it is, I don't know, it feels more real. That like, it worked in the movies, but it's not working now. Of course, it worked. The movies are fictional. That's how I guess people would react here. That zombies are so played out now. Everyone knows you shoot a zombie in the head. What if by chance, like horrifically, this happened in real life, and that didn't work? People would be like, "But I saw it in The Walking Dead." Like,
I mean, definitely,
real.
People would.
Real.
People would. Another thing about it as well is generally everybody's remarkably rational about everything. Yeah. Like the way they go about it, it's like, well, we can't go outside, we've got to board the windows up, and there's not much, if any, of like dumb horror movie characters doing dumb stuff. All right, they might be like, nakedly dancing on a cemetery, but they don't know that the dead are about to rise. So there's like, they're not doing anything like intentionally dumb horror movie characters do.
Look, the thought of dying just gets people off. Okay, it's
well, dying in a very specific way, being eaten to death by old men.
Oh, don't! It's just getting me all riled up now.
We're not kink shaming anybody, but that is very niche. That is a very niche way.
Yeah. Oh god, big time. I just want to bring it up now. It's one of my favorite sort of. It's a little bit of trivia. One of my favorite bits of sort of horror trivia is how the name Return of the Living Dead came about. And I'm sure we've talked about this before.
I'm pretty sure I've heard you tell. It may have been on an older episode.
It might have been,
a pre-me episode of the pod. It might have been when you did your top 5 episode.
May have been when I talked about maybe Dawn of the Dead. Yeah,
possibly.
Because Dawn of the Dead, not Dawn of the Living Dead. So for the folks that don't know, obviously you had George Romero and John Russo, another director, created Night of the Living Dead in the late 60s. They split up and went in different directions. George Romero went on to create Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, unfortunately Land of the Dead, and so on. Don't get me started on Diary of the Dead. But what they all have in common is it's of the dead, whereas Night was Night of the Living Dead. Now the title was taken away by John, and you said George Romero, John Russo. There we John.
Yeah.
John Russo, who is a big hack. He's not a very good director or writer, as we'll find out. He also directed a film called Santa Claus, Claws. What is a very big B movie, and the killer has a garden fork. That's his claws. And he also did the re-release of Night of the Living Dead, where he reshot parts of it, but in the 90s, and cut it sliced it into the old film. It looks insane. So we've got the zombie at the beginning of the Night of the Living Dead that just goes for Barbara. We have in theory his origin of the workers at the graveyard, taking it. And a priest there as well. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. He wrote a script for Return of the Living Dead. A gentleman called Tom Fox bought the script, set up a production deal. This script arrived in Dan O'Bannon's hands. Dan O'Bannon wrote Alien. He wanted to direct Alien, but Ridley Scott did it and did a great job, obviously. Dan O'Bannon basically was like, this is shit. No, not having it. So they rewrote the whole script. And he directed Return of the Living Dead, and John Russo lost out on the name, and that's where the Living Dead title stuck with. We stuck with Return of the Living Dead 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and never went back to George Romero. So all his films after Night of the Living Dead were just of the dead.
And there we go. But also radically different in tone as well.
Radically different in tone, which they're all kind of related in a way, if you think, because in theory, Night of the Living Dead is referencing... Return of the Living Dead is referencing Night of the Living Dead. Mm-hmm. But Fulci's Zombie 2 is, in theory, kind of a canonically sequel to Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
So there's some sort of weird universe around this, like, because Dawn of the Dead is in the same universe as Night of the Living Dead, because the epidemic has already started to happen.
Oh yeah.
So it's weird. They're all linked in some way.
I mean, they've all got zombies.
That is the link, folks. There we go.
Heard it here first.
Bob on. There we go.
They've all got zombies in them.
Is this breaking news you have? Is this an exclusive that you have? This is a Dreadcast exclusive.
It's a Dreadcast exclusive. Zombie films have zombies in them.
Have some.
That is top fact for you all.
Fact of the day. So yeah, there's a nice little bit of trivia for you there. It's one of my favorite things. Little favorite piece of trivia and horror. I like it because of what could have happened.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Living Dead, Day of the Living Dead. It sounds good. Sounds okay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's because we're so used to it without it.
That's it. But I don't know. I just think it's without it, we wouldn't have had this, and and this does a lot for the genre.
Oh, big time.
This start. If I'm right, this starts some of the tropes of zombie movies. The whole brain eating thing.
This is
this movie, isn't it?
This is it. This is it with Tarman.
Mm-hmm. Gave
this fella right here. Hello.
Basically gave zombies a voice. He's a spokesman for an entire generation.
Yes. Sorry, I'm going to play with my doll later on.
I think you should.
Yes, Tarman. The zombie. The first speaking zombie that brains?
Yeah.
And that's where it came from. And I mean, I feel it is brains that these zombies want, and we get that explanation from another zombie later on where they actually have a conversation with her.
I mean, the zombies generally are quite tall. At first I was thinking, because I kind of knew this, and going into it I was thinking, oh yeah, this is zombies, the zombies talk in this, or at least they say brains, and they moaning for brains. But there's actually quite a lot of zombie dialogue throughout this, where they're just chatting away. You can't shut them up.
And some of the
but yeah, I mean,
moments.
maybe not in cinema have the whole zombies been eating brains become or specifically brains become a thing, but I feel like there are enough references to zombies eating brains in other media and portrayals of zombies, but it comes right from this.
I mean, remember when we were talking about Frankenstein, we said like people dressed up as Frankenstein's monster, it would be the bolts, it would be the someone goes as a zombie to a Halloween party, right, or a night out, what would they do? I mean, for the most part, I feel like that would be the common look. And I feel like people...
Or if you were trying to describe it to somebody, if you were trying to describe zombies, I've never heard of zombies. What are zombies? It's like, oh, well, brains, eating brains.
Yeah.
It's something you'd say.
I don't think this film gets its recognition enough that this is where it started. I don't think people would know that. I feel like people may think, and I'm generalizing here, people may think, oh, it was always like this. All zombie films are like this, right? All zombies eat brains and stuff. Night of the Living Dead, there's the scenes towards the end where they're more just the cannibals. Yeah, they got the guts and what they're eating an arm, eating a hand. It's completely different. This is, they go straight in for the skull. They want the juicy brain. It's when they do go for the brain, it's pretty gruesome. It's pretty the violent. The gore is needed is used sparingly, but when it's used heavily.
It's good though. It's good old fashioned schlocky effects.
The other zombie tropes though, you've obviously got they're not Romero zombies.
No,
they're not. They're not what people think 28 Days Later zombies are. I mean, I wouldn't even class them as zombies in 28 Days Later.
No, I wouldn't. That's not. It's not a zombie film. It's an infection movie.
These are.
It's post-apocalypse.
Yes.
Stuff.
Yeah. Rabies or whatever it is. Yeah. These are, in a modern sense, I guess, closer to the Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake zombies. They're aggressive. They can run. They're not. They're not. Some of them are walking corpses. There's a lot of different types of zombies in here, but they all have quite a bit of mobility.
Well, it plays. I suppose if you're looking, I guess it kind of depends where your background is, like where you came into zombie films. And for me, it was Romero. It was probably Dawn of the Dead, I think. It was either Dawn or Day before I watched Night of the Living. But it was one of those three. It was one of Romero's trilogy that got me. That was the first zombie movie I watched. So for me, zombies are slow moving. Cannibalistic. You destroy the brain to kill them. That's what a zombie is for me.
That's your trope of the zombie. That's your yeah.
But having said that, I am fully willing to accept Return of the Living Dead as zombies, but recognizing that it does do different things. Like you say, they're running, they specifically go for brains, they're a lot more obviously articulate, but they're a little bit more mobile, like agile. They can climb through windows and operate things, and there's
climb through windows. One of them throws himself through the office window. I forgot when I was watching that. I burst out laughing because I didn't expect it. He launches himself through this window in the office, in Frank's office.
Excuse me. I mean, destroying the brain doesn't work. They still keep going, without a head and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
it does a lot of different things to what I'd sort of say is traditionally a zombie.
Yeah.
But I'm still willing to accept it, and it doesn't. But I will put my foot down and say no. 28 days later, I'll not shut up.
Agree.
That's something else. That's something else entirely. But these are zombies. They're just a different form of zombie. They're just a different kind of zombie.
Yeah.
And it works. It does work. I mean, maybe the more humorous element and the tone has something to do with it. But yeah, they are zombies, albeit just an original twist on something else.
Yeah, for sure. And the zombies themselves, there's a selection of different types of zombies. We've got Tarman, who he was obviously the one in the barrel at the beginning, which is underneath the medical supply warehouse, which we discussed earlier. He doesn't look like that when you first see him, and then it's in the opening credits where Frank, they knock the barrel, and then the gas comes out, they get knocked out, and then the opening credits are the face of the zombie melting, the beautiful wax. I think it was like a wax sculpture. They just melted, and it looks great. He escapes from the barrel, and then I think it's about 15-20 minutes later when our punk gang arrive at the medical supply. They encounter Tarman, and Tarman is it's weird. He's got all his clothes still on, but his flesh is melted. So it's like his clothes have survived more than his flesh did. Very bizarre.
It's like some rapid oxidization, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's been preserved in that tank.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre look, but it's a really cool. It's a very unique look. There's no other zombie in the film that looks like him. And then later on, there are zombies when they do start to arise from the grave. We'll get to the reason why they do, which I really like the way they went around why the dead are coming alive. There's the one zombie that's not even a zombie, it's just a fucking skeleton with eyeballs. Yeah. It's brilliant. And you can see the mechanism in his jaw.
The wire in his jaw, yeah.
He just pops up out of the ground, vertically, eyes open, and mouth drops. It's brilliant. And then, of course, we've got our zombies throughout, which, skin flakes coming off, they blood every now and then, lesions, sores. And, of course, we have a feature zombie that has no legs. And he's fantastic. Apparently, they found him on Hollywood Boulevard. He's been in loads of films, but this one they said, do you want to be in a film? He's like, I've been in films. Do you want to be in a horror film? I've been in horror films. Do you want to be a feature in our zombie films? Hell yeah. But I don't want any crutches or anything. I want to be how I am.
Yeah.
That's what we got. Him running on his little legs. It's brilliant. So yeah, it's a really eclectic, I guess, cast of zombies.
Yeah.
And especially, I guess you could put this in the category, the cadaver at the beginning.
Yeah, of course. The yellow, the yellow corpse running around.
So good. Just knocking shit over.
Yeah, it's very bumbling when he's wriggling around in the when he first gets reanimated. Plastic bag.
Yeah. One thing.
I just wanted to say about that whole thing is that obviously it's a medical. And they have all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And it's well, we're told basically those skeletons are supposedly real as well. There's something about them all skeletons coming from India, and it's like this whole thing. But then they have actual corpses as well. Now, what medical supply warehouse is selling body charts and there's plenty of like plastic like intestine models and internal organ models and all that sort of like school classroom sort of stuff, but then corpses for dissection.
They get the corpses, Mo. Get the corpses. But yeah, they're just hanging in there like an abattoir. They're just it's like you got the office, you've got racks of like something that might go to a school, the plastic guts, and then you've got a fucking freezer full of dead bodies. It's wild, absolutely wild. I mean, you should see if you get a chance the original special effects guy they had for this film was not very good and got fired, and his original cadaver suit was rough. Like you could see the latex wrinkles all in it. It had like a when the head gets cut off, that he did it so the severed head actually went up like this, and you could see a little slot for the actor's eyes. It was so bad. So
I mean, this was a guy who just painted yellow, so it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's not much better. Yeah,
it wasn't a huge improvement, but yeah, you couldn't see no eye slots.
Yeah. So the cadaver comes around once Frank and Freddy. Frank? Yeah, Frank. But I always get Frank and Bert confused. Frank and Freddy wake up, they go upstairs, and they hear the cadaver screaming, and he's really like, screaming, and that's where the goofiness of Frank starts to come out. And they have to deal with the cadaver. Bert comes around, they go for the head. It worked in the movies, it didn't work now. We see our dog. The dog is so awesome and gross at the same time. His little legs just...
I like how they say like, "Oh, and what's wrong with it?" It's like he's clearly half a dog on the floor, like, and it's not until they flip it over that he realizes, "Oh no!"
Yeah, it's all gooey. See half it. Yeah, it's intestines. Oh, it's horrible. And then he starts beating it up with a crutch.
I just absolutely annihilates it. Yeah, I mean, that is in my notes, and it's a sentence I never thought I'd write ever, and it just says half a dog beaten to death with a crutch.
And you can hear the dog wailing. It's so funny. It's subtle comedy like that. I think it's fantastic.
Half a dog beaten to death with a crutch. What's subtle? Where's the subtle?
Hey, it's there.
It is. It's good. Very nuanced. Yeah, no, that is absolutely great. I mean, meanwhile, we've got our friendly punks are in the cemetery outside.
Yes.
Thinking about death and stuff, being all edgy.
I mean, it says Louisville, but it looks like LA.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like LA. I think they even drive by the LA River. It looks like the LA River. But yeah, there's some really good scenes with all of them, like when they're driving around. That I kind of hate in films where the script is so much like this character's line there, then this character's line is there, then this character's line. They can't talk over each other. I feel like if you were out in a group of friends, you might have two friends here talking to each other. You might have two friends here, and there would be, if you were a passerby, you would hear two conversations happening at once, and that happens in these scenes. They all kind of talk over each. It feels a lot more organic and natural rather than a modern day sitcom where it's line, ba 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 ba, ha ha. Yeah. Your line, but it's quite, and the group really mesh well.
They do, to the point where I did question whether any of them like each other because they spend a lot of time like bickering and putting each other down. But I guess that's kind of realistic for friends as well. Like your best friends are probably the ones that the worst. The worst too. Some
of the names we've got: Scuzz, Trash, who Lene Quigley. We've got Tina, who is basically Kelly from Saved by the Bell for the group. Casey, Chuck, they're kind of like the stragglers of the group. We got Spider, who's Miguel Nunez, and Suicide, who is Suicide. Oh, it's not a lifestyle choice; it's a way of life. the
It's
way
a
he
way
looks,
of
okay?
life. I know.
No one understands him.
I'll paint my room black, Mom, if I want.
I have chains hanging from every orifice on my body if I want. It's a way of life.
It is a way of life. And I mean, he's got suicide written on the front of across the front of his car.
Just in case people didn't know.
No,
Okay.
that's whose car it is.
It's suicide. You don't mess with suicide, okay? Is it him and Trash are a couple?
Yes.
I feel like they were, weren't they? Yeah.
They were, yeah, because although he's having some sort of existential crisis at the time, but she comes over to him. She's all hot and bothered after she's done a naked dancing, and and he says like he just pushes her away. Have you got no respect for the dead?
Okay, yeah. So they've just broken into a graveyard because they thought, because Freddy's working. They're like, well, what are we going to do? Let's go. Oh, that's going to be cool. Let's go do that.
Let's hang out in the cemetery. The resurrection cemetery as well. I noticed it.
Yes,
just a funny little gag, isn't it? You know, some fun little foreshadowing.
No respect for the dead yet. They break into the cemetery. They have flares. They have the boombox. They want to party, like basically trampling over people's graves. But Linnea Quigley whipping all her clothes off. No, we're not having that. We're not having that. All right. We'll talk about this at home. Okay. Where were we? We were talking about the cast, right?
We talked about the cast. We were talking about the punks in the graveyard, but we got sidetracked a little bit from talking about what actually causes the dead to rise.
That doesn't sound right for us. That doesn't sound like us. Like when I have to do the timestamps for our podcast, and I'm like, okay, so we're talking about this big scene here. Like we talk about it for about 4 minutes, and then we go on to something else. And then we come back to it. So I'm not gonna say we talk about it again. I think So yeah, how do these zombies work? How do they rise from the grave?
So we have it's essence. It's order zombie, isn't it? It's essence of zombie, I guess that happens. Zombie gas. If you keep a zombie bottled up for too long, it's going to ferment, and then our two klutzers, our two hapless klutzers, knock the container, which is a great gag, by the way. This was made by the Army Engineering. Bang. So that initial eruption raises or reanimates everything in the whatchamajoofa.
Medical supply warehouse.
That's the phrase I was looking for. The medical supply warehouse.
Yeah.
So after they've dealt with our yellow cadaver and chopped it, well, they decided to chop him up into bits, don't they? And that brings us on to the next big location of the movie, which is the mortician's office. And they sort of just skipping ahead a little bit, incinerate the body, and it's the smoke from that incineration that causes an instant rainstorm, I guess.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It causes acid, or like an acid rain.
It causes acid rain, which instantly, which seeps into the soil of the cemetery next door and raises the dead. So that's basically how we get our outbreak in this film, isn't it?
I love it. It's a perfect circle because
it works well.
You've already got the catalyst. It's already there. We don't need to know, because they say I always forget. They do state that these are the bodies from Night of the Living Dead. Like these are the ones.
Yeah. That's the.
And that, I believe, was like space dust, right? It was something along the lines of that from Night of the Living Dead, or was it?
Radiation from it's radiation from a satellite re-entering Earth's atmosphere or something. I think that causes.
So that's not too detailed. That's kind of like, well, we've just picked an excuse out of the hat and we'll go with that. So these bodies are from that, but that's the catalyst for this, and it's a perfect circle,
Mhm.
as we see later on in the film. Whereas a lot of the times, I don't want to know how the outbreak began. Like with
No.
I just, this is just what we're dealing with. This is it. This is our story. For the most part, it's how the zombies are always the B players. It's always how the survivors deal with it.
Yeah.
Always is. But this works.
I mean, I just like it because it's a nice little step, because the gas being released from the canister could be enough, because that'd infect Frank and
Ready.
Freddy. I want to say Kenny. Frank, that would infect those two, and then they could start it off. They could be off biting people or doing zombie stuff and whatever, and you could kick it off that way. But this way, we get, like, while they're dealing with this, like, what they think is an isolated incident, we've got this by them sort of solving that problem, they create a bigger one, inadvertently create a bigger one. So it is just like a comedy of errors. One disaster begets another, and then they've got a full-blown outbreak on the hands. But I like it that it's this sort of little two-stage, because it's not necessary. Like I say, they could have just had that initial gas release being the culprit, but they decide to just kind of go one step further, and it escalates it in a way that's interesting, I think.
Yeah, the main catalyst for this film is Frank hitting the barrel. That's it.
Which, if it had not had a new employee, I guess that it wouldn't have happened. So it is all Freddy's job for getting a fault for getting a job.
Yeah,
as his friends
it is
critical of him for doing.
Well, when they're trying to get rid of the first cadaver, but the owner of the warehouse comes back to help him. Clu Gulager, great actor, and he's friends with oh my god, Ernie, who is the mortician.
It's Bert and Ernie.
Bert and Ernie. It is Bert and Ernie. Again, all these little things, they're fantastic. He is the mortician who runs mortuary, and he asks him to do a favor. So they bring the body bags over. In theory, does he say? I feel like he says they're possums,
weasels.
That's it.
Rabid weasels.
Yeah, because the bags are moving, because the limbs they're still alive. You can't kill these things unless you do burn them, and he does show, like, Ernie doesn't believe it, right? He does show him, like, okay, look, this is what's happening. We got to get rid of them. We got to burn them. And there's a great line which comes as a callback to later on, where Frank and Freddy are sat in the incinerator room as they're about to burn this body, and Frank says to Freddy, like, I could run that damn machine if I wanted to. And it comes back later on, because apparently Frank's character was going to survive. And he was like, the actor was like, no, I feel like it's better for his character, because of this line, to come back and just feel like I need to end it. And that is the saddest part of the film, I feel like, later on, when he does that. And yeah, then it's really those three locations: the graveyard, the mortuary, and the Uni, the medical supply, are the only three locations in this film. Main locations. We get the snippets of Colonel's house and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So it's very isolated in these.
I mean,
they're right next to each other.
Like most good zombie movies.
Yeah,
that's what they do. So yeah, we've got these three, like, as you say, they're closely situated locations, and the group gets split, and we've got a couple of survivors in one place and the rest of the survivors in the other place. We just talk about Ernie's introduction, though, where he's packing a gun.
Yep.
for no real reason other than, I guess, they need to give a character a gun. But our first introduction is Bert He kind of creeps up on him, I guess, doesn't he?
He just walks in, but Ernie's got his headphones on. He's listening to music while doing some sort of oh my god, what's it called? Well, oh my god, I'm mind blanking. Autopsy. There it is.
I mean, I think he does say specifically what he's doing, and he's breaking out rigor mortis.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating part where he actually goes
Yeah.
into detail about it, which comes into play later with
It
Frank
does
and
come into
Freddy.
play later on.
Yeah, he just
But yeah,
slips
that's what
in.
he's doing. He does. He's got his headphones on. He's happy, doing away, injecting whatever it is that he's doing, however the process works. And yeah, Bert sneaks up on him, and he just pulls a gun on him. He
Freeze!
whips round and he's got a pistol in his face. What are you doing sneaking up on me? And
You
it's
left your
just
door open.
It's just so random.
Hey,
It's just so random though as to why he'd have a gun.
You left your door open. Were you doing it on purpose so that you hope people would come in? That you could
So
go,
he's having an excuse to
Gotcha.
shoot somebody.
it's my America.
Maybe because on first kind of impressions of Ernie, I did expect him to be a little bit more sinister than he actually ends up being. And I think it's possibly just because that he's the mortician. So I was like, all right, yeah, maybe he's going to be a little bit weird. When he's not, there's nothing particularly apart from the fact that he happens. He's likes to wear a gun around the office. I don't think there's anything untoward about him.
No, not at all.
But I was kind of expecting it for some reason.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's a very quick introduction to Ernie, and like you said, throughout the rest of the film, he's very understanding with the situation, is willing to help out and go along, and he's smart as well. Like going back and forth, but towards the end of the film, certain people escape. Again, we'll get to it from the mortuary, and he's left there with Tina. And she's like, they left us, and he realizes why they left. He's smart. He's already clocking on to how to deal with this situation, how to deal with this problem. What do we do? And like you said earlier on, all these people are all quite switched on for the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part, and they work together in the end.
Yeah. There's none of that sort of usual bickering or relay. I mean, thinking about Night of the Living Dead, for example, you've a big part of that movie is the conflict in the house between the groups
completely.
and people, and you get it with. I mean, I guess a lot of zombie media as well. Walking is a big part of The Walking Dead. Is different conflicting groups of survivors, and we should do this, we should do that. People we should stay here. People are coming to rescue. No, we should go there because everything's knackered. Everybody does work well together, and they're quite. There isn't that usual a trope, I guess, of zombie movies where you get the survivors, bickering or and it's one of my least favorite things about zombie movies generally is that twist usually about 3/4 of the way through or whatever, that it's like, oh, actually humans are the terrible ones, they're the real monster.
Always the way.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of zombie movies, and 9 times out of 10 they'll go down that route, and you just think one of them will turn out to be a serial killer, and you just think, oh god, again.
Why can't you just work together? Why?
Just have the zombies be the villains. That's fine as well.
Yeah.
Not every group of survivors has one secret psychopath.
Or not every
fine.
zombie film needs a message. Like
No.
with Land of the Dead was all of his Romero's films did have the sort of background sort of message through the decades.
Social commentary.
Social commentary, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. And they work to an extent, especially the earlier ones, but you don't always need that. Just have the zombies as your villain.
I guess it's like
monster.
if you get known for it, that he's got to put it in there because people expect it. Like Shyamalan.
Oh yeah, he's got to
put in a twist. He's got to put a twist in.
But then it gets played out, and his films were just awful for how long. Yeah. So it's kind of, after we get introduced to Ernie, it's kind of from this point onwards that we get the slow burn of Frank and Freddy's demise, of turning into these nightmare creatures, these zombies. But I mean, this is where the wailing and moaning and groaning really starts to kick in. Is it not long after this where they go back to you need a medical supply, because that's where the gang the gang go there first, right? And that's where they meet Tarman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
I can't remember my scenes off by heart.
I think this because the dead rise in the cemetery and they split up, don't they? I think, and some of them go one way and some go the other.
Yeah, that's probably it.
I think a couple of them, I really couldn't keep track of who was who, but I'm sure a couple of them go to the mortuary, where and a few of them go to the. I mean, some of them don't make it at all, but a couple of them go to the medical supply warehouse, and that's where that's where we end up with two groups. Yeah,
because when they were in the graveyard, they see Freddie, Bert, and Frank carrying the bags to the mortuary, and they're like, "Yeah, is that Freddie over there?"
Yeah, because they question it. Yeah,
I just couldn't remember off the top of my head, because Tina ends up at the medical supply warehouse where she encounters Tarman. That's our first encounter with Tarman as well, which apparently they didn't show the actress that played Tina what Tarman was going to look like. Her first encounter with Tarman was the take, so right. her reaction is near enough legit to brains coming out of the darkness. Like, I like that. I mean, that's great, because you wouldn't get a subtle reaction. She said as well throughout the behind the scenes that she got to a point in the film where she couldn't cry anymore, because she was doing so much where she's at one point she's holding Freddie for so long in the film. They did however many takes, she couldn't cry anymore. So I think it was James Caron played this piece of music, and apparently it's this beautiful piece of music, and it made her cry. Nothing the special effects artists could do, like blow dust in her eyes or whatnot, could make her cry, but this one piece of music helped her make her cry. But yeah, I think she goes to the medical supply first, then they all follow. Suicide gets his head bitten in, and then they run off and split up from there, I believe. Because Spider, Tina, Scuzz end up at the mortuary, and then we've got the other couple which end up still at the warehouse, I believe. This is where I get a bit, like I said, get a bit confused as to where our characters are placed for the most part, and what point.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
sounds about right.
It can't be long after this though that our paramedics arrive.
That is, yeah, I think that's how I've got it in my notes. I think I usually make my sequentially as I go through. So yeah we've got Tarman saying brains. That's where those zombies eating brain things comes from. Yeah, the send more paramedics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before that, when the paramedics arrived,
before that
to check on Frank and Freddie, and they can't get a pulse. They can't get anything. Like Freddie's tongue is all like orangey.
Oh, that's yeah.
Horrible. And they're basically saying, you guys are dead. You guys are basically unalive. And they peace out. The paramedics are like, don't know what to do. And they go back to the van. They go back to the van. I can't remember if it's get more equipment, and then they get. It's hilarious when they get swarmed. I'm sorry, but it is, because they just come out of nowhere.
They do come out of nowhere, just like and stage left or whatever it is. Yeah, they just come swarming in.
Yeah, it is, and of course we get send more paramedics, which obviously comes back to play later on with the cops. Send more police. The funny gag continuously done throughout the film that works really well.
And also the name of a band from Leeds, Send More Paramedics.
Is it really?
Yeah. Zombie film influenced thrash band. Thrash punk.
I was just about to say, it has to be related to this film, surely.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah, it's 100% where they got the name from. I don't know if they still perform, but they they did reasonably big. I think they played like Download a couple of times and stuff. I don't say.
Okay,
I don't know if they still perform, but yeah, there's yeah, there you go. The band named specifically after that line from this film.
When because also when there is a second group of paramedics that do arrive, and they, if I remember right, they get swarmed even quicker. They're just gone. They stand no chance.
Well, they'll have been looking out for him that second time they put the order in, and they got some.
Yeah,
they would have been watching out for him. Yeah, they do. They also get swarmed
behind the trees. Like what?
Just like when you've got a takeaway order on the way, and you just looking out the window.
Curtain twitching.
There's an Amazon parcel on the way.
Yeah. And then so for the most part of the film now, it's like until the part of the third act, it is Frank and Freddy just their slow demise.
Mm-hmm.
The group's really trying to figure out what the hell we're gonna do.
Yeah,
Spider.
Sorry, I was gonna say they've got some of that. They've got some of that classic sort of zombie film scene stuff. They're boarding up windows. They're looking for they're fortifying their position. Yeah, wondering what they're gonna do and how they're gonna get out of it. But we've got a good sort of chunk of that classic zombie film siege kind of stuff. It cuts to things like the paramedics getting eaten and other people wandering around. But we've got some good fighting arms through windows and that sort of carry on.
That specific scene that you mentioned, like where they are boarding up, it's the chapel that he's got in the mortuary. They burst through, and there's a point where Scuzz is there. He's like the mini suicide. Again, in the behind the scenes, they were talking about Dan O'Bannon wanted this just one scene that was just so over the top, like more than when Suicide gets his head bitten in. Obviously, Scuzz's death, it's just blood splatters all across the wall. When his head gets bitten in, apparently they had like a plate that, a pump going down, and when it was time, it was like turn the compressor on and just shoot blood everywhere. And they were like crew with anoraks on, covered in blood. Is it that scene where they get the female rotting corpse or half of the body, and then they tie it to the
it's around. It must be around that point, yeah.
Because I really love that scene when they're talking to that corpse, because like the animatronics are so on point with her little spine going up, a little bit of spinal fluid coming out, her mouth. What's really cool, which I don't think a lot of people would think of, when you speak, it's your muscles around your mouth that accentuate the different letters and sounds and move. Without the muscles, you've just got a jaw going up and down. So it doesn't look as far-fetched and goofy as her mouth, as she's talking, her mouth going like a puppet, because she hasn't got the flesh to do it. But I really like her little speech of it makes the pain go away.
Well, that's just good that they kind of build their own little zombie mythology.
Yeah.
With this movie. I don't think, apart from the brain eating, maybe is maybe the only thing that's sort of transferred into wider pop culture. I don't know about the reason why they eat the brains, but it's good that they do it. They've got that little thing in there. They've made a decision as to why the zombies eat brains, but they've also thought about it, and it's good to see that it's maybe not necessary. Like I say, it could have just been like, oh, the zombies eat brains in this. Fair enough. I don't really need to know why they eat brains, but we get told they build on that mythology that they're creating.
What's weird about it though is, human species evolved over time, right, to whatever diet we have that's evolved from over time. The zombies are they've literally just occurred in the last hour or so. And yet they know what they want to eat. They know exactly what a brain is. They know what they want to go for.
Oh yeah, there's no logical reason.
No, I'm not looking for a logical reason. I'm just stating. I'm just putting it out there. Okay. obviously, I mean, yeah, if they're the same DNA as like the Night of the Living Dead zombies, even those are new. You know, those that's a fresh thing for humanity. So zombies are like a species that have been around. They're reanimated corpses.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm just trying to think. Do we see any flesh eating in Night of the Living Dead?
yeah. Oh yeah. Towards the end, there's like a montage of them sitting down outside.
There is.
Yeah. It's easier on the eye when it's black and white.
It's a long time since I've seen it. I was just thinking because I know it's referenced, I know it's mentioned in the news reports and stuff. But I was just thinking about the later films where you obviously get big scenes of people being pulled apart and such.
Roads in Day of the Dead, yeah.
Yeah, just top of my head, I couldn't think of anything similar in Night of the Living. But yeah, I mean, I suppose, do you want to? I mean, if you really want to accept that, I mean, I suppose you have to, because we're told that they are the same bodies. Unless you think that that's just a bit of spin, and we don't know where these have come from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously thinking about it way too hard. It's a fun film, but it's interesting. I feel like it's an interesting thing to talk about. But she's very adamant. It's in brains. It makes the pain go away.
Yeah. That's exactly
the pain of being,
says.
And I don't know if it's a link between the pain of rigor mortis, how their bodies feel as zombies.
Yeah, maybe it is that because that's what Freddy complains about. That doesn't he? Complains he's got a crippling headache and everything aches and everything hurts. And I guess that's just I suppose if when they go further than that, like the one strapped to the bed, who is a full-on decayed corpse but animated, then that pain of being dead is still going to be there.
Yeah,
I suppose.
I guess. Yeah. Why not? Why not? Aidan, you're thinking about this too hard. What are you talking about?
I mean, that's why we're doing this.
They're just zombies, man. They're just zombies. They're not real. What are you talking about? Wait, and also what you said about Freddy, when he meets his demise and fully turns later on, it's when again Tina is holding him and he talks about your juicy brain. Like, so instantly he wants the brain. He wants to eat the brain. One thing with Freddy's demise though, when they look at his body, the rigor mortis is setting in. It's horrific when you see the bruising.
Oh yeah, the big purple bruise on his back. Yeah,
that's sometimes worse than the gore, because you can. I feel like you can feel that more than the gore, like a sort of a really bad bed sore. Yeah,
it is. It looks. Yeah, that's it. The blood is. He tells us that the blood's pooling, and that's
it's horrible. It's horrible, man. So what else have I mean, I talked about Frank's overacting. Frank's overacting throughout just can be summed up with, oh god. It's brilliant. I love it. I feel like you've obviously got Spider. Probably is the one that takes control from the group, because he's really the one that I want to say survives. No one survives at the end. We'll get to that. But if you cut it before what happens at the end, he does survive with Bert. What we know, they drive off.
Yeah. I had to let out of there.
And our other two, which again I keep forgetting their names, Chuck and Casey are the ones that are holed up at the medical supply. Oh no, I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong. Shut me up, because Bert drives back to the medical supply and rings the number on the barrel, which is the army.
Oh, of course he does. Yeah,
of course he does. Yes. We should talk about the army. Part of this story.
Yeah.
The colonel.
Yeah.
Who hates his wife. Clearly he hates his wife.
Well, I think he hates his job more. I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, it might be, one feeding the other and possibly vice versa, because I get that sense that she hates his job also as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, like the story. Well, the story is that the barrels of bodies have been were mistakenly sent to UNITA medical supplies, and
Yeah.
they've is he a colonel? Do we get his rank?
He is a colonel. Yep,
He
he is Colonel Glover.
Colonel Glover has basically been charged with trying to track him down, and that is his entire job. Like, he comes home. I think we're basically shown that he comes home from the office and logs into some sort of
It's amazing.
automated system that's going that so he can be basically he's the guy that needs to be monitoring the phones just in case sightings of the barrels come in. I love that those barrels have just got a phone number on as well. Property of US Army. If found, please call.
If found, send your address on a PO box on a pre-stamped postcard PO box.
It's almost like they knew they were going to lose them.
Yeah, why would you put them on there? But I love his computer is in like a china cabinet.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that as well.
But when he gets home, he's just done because he asks what's for dinner and she says something like lamb. He's like, well, I had that for lunch.
Oh yeah.
Oh, all right. Fuck you then. Might as well throw it away.
Isn't it his favourite as well? Lamb chops, your favourite is I had that for lunch. And then that's it. Shoots her down.
Doesn't even look her in the face. Just that's it.
Yeah, okay, maybe he does hate her more than.
I think he does. Yeah, but he's not really focused that much at all. I think he has that scene. Then there's the scene where Bert does ring up the army, and then he gets put through to the colonel, who is in bed, wakes up for the phone call, takes loads of notes, and that's it. That's it. Then the colonel rings.
The colonel
another department, and sir, yes, sir, of course, sir, right away, sir, yes, right, understand, sir. That guy is on form in the army. Who takes that call.
I mean, yeah, because presumably. We're talking about the guy in the gun, right?
Yeah.
In the artillery thing. So presumably that artillery is just sat there waiting for somebody to find the barrels.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Like, is it?
It's a train. It's on a track.
Right. Okay. I didn't notice that.
That is harder to move wherever you want to than a truck. That is stationary on this rail, either going back or forth. That has got a nuclear bomb just sitting on its carriage, waiting to be fired off somewhere
on its own private line. That's not a commercial line. I mean, America's bad for train journeys, as far as I'm aware. But
yeah, I don't think there's an Amtrak coming behind it. Like, I don't know if that's legit. If there would just be. I mean, it's America. There probably is. There probably is a military train line like that.
Railway guns were a thing.
They were
in the Second World War. I don't know if America has any currently on home soil.
Have a look. I mean, the Nazis.
I say currently in the 80s on home soil, even, or would ever have done. But. If we're just going to accept for a minute that they do, and they did, that particular unit is presumably part of a network of units.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the phone call from the colonel to say, right, we've got a bearing that you need to fire, a location that you need to fire upon, because that's where our dangerous barrels are. And yeah, he's like... keen as mustard, first day on the job. Like, I'm,
yes, of course, sir. Coordinates, sir. Yes.
I mean,
by the way, sir.
He was that day. He knew that day was good. Like, it could have quite easily been feet up doing a crossword or looking at Playboy, or and like, what, the phone, dusty phone. Oh, what? Hello. I didn't realize this line was still working. But no, he's ready to go. He's raring,
Yeah.
primed and ready.
He is the reason a city got nuked, basically. He did the deed. Before this happens, though, there is a scene that is actually, it's kind of duplicated again in Return of the Living Dead 2. I say Return of the Living Dead 2 is very much the same premise. You've got Frank and Freddy, and they get exposed to trioxin, but it's in like the suburbs. There's the scene of when the police turn up, and they sort of have a barricade around in one of the streets, and then all the zombies start to swarm them, and they just destroy them. But I think this is when Bert is on the phone to the police. Oh, he's on the phone to the police first before he rings the phone number on the barrel. And he's on the phone to the police officer, and then he can hear the police being swarmed. And it's just an exhaustive...
Oh, yeah.
And he
just holds it out. What's happening? And he just holds it so just you can hear.
You can hear, oh my God. Yeah. And then he rings.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I was forgetting that, because towards the end we do see a little bit of wider. It's not just them. We see a little bit of this outbreak spreading into the wider community, don't we? And there's roadblocks set up, and and
we also see Trash
attempting to fight back. Yeah,
we see a couple of snippets of zombie Trash, who is still naked and skimpy as ever. But I wonder, there are very quick shots of her mouth looking like it's elongated,
kind of extended.
Yeah, did you catch that? Yeah,
I did.
I wonder if I can get a still of it. Because if they did, that feels like you get that in certain films where they'll put a lot of work and money into a certain special effect that will be shown for 1 or 2 seconds. And that's it. But the director was like adamant, I need this, I want this.
Yeah, or maybe it was for a shot that didn't get used or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I definitely recall catching that, because I did a little bit of a double take, and I was like, oh, hang on, was that Trash that just flashed past? No pun intended.
Oh shit! Look at. I'm gonna send you this. It's okay. This is great. Hang on. Right, there we go. Look at that. And I'll put this here for the
that's the
video.
One. Yeah.
But then if you look at this, you can get the mask. You can get it as a mask.
Okay.
Look at that.
It's like a lemming. Like from the video game Lemmings, it's like a
little bit. Yeah, it's
that's kind of creepy.
It is. I'm really curious now as to what the background is of that. Maybe that will be on the special features I'm not allowed to watch. But,
maybe.
Yeah.
I'd be interested, because it's definitely like in that image, in that scene where they attack the cop. It's almost like there's maybe an extended shot where we see her taking a bite out of him. And that's why they've got this elongated jaw. In fact, it's possible that even in that still there, is that the I'm assuming it's still Linnea Quigley in there. Is that her chin above the tongue?
Above the tongue. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's. I really don't know. I'm really intrigued to go back and check this out, or at least just find out how. Yeah.
But yeah, it is, because in the movie it is a real blink moment. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's for something that didn't make the cut.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you could be right. I will find out, and if you are listening, folks, I will do some research and put it on the Twitter, which is at @_Dreadcast, by the way. But I digress. Yeah. That was. Yeah. I don't know if we I don't feel like we skipped too much. We went quite to. I went quite. Well, not we. I went quite to the end there. But was there much? I mean,
I don't think there's not any
middle.
sort of big beats of plot that we've not mentioned. It's just there is that sort of section in the middle where it is zombie movie siege fair. So yeah, we didn't talk about every single zombie escapade, every little encounter moment.
We get a very aggressive Freddy though when he does turn, because they they have is it nitric acid? Ernie has I think it's nitric acid, and they talk about it, and he throws it in Freddy's eyes and blinds him, like completely melts his eyes so he can't see. So when Ernie and Tina are trying to hide from Freddy in the mortuary, they hide like in an attic sort of crawl space. He is just beside himself as zombie Freddy because he can't see. He is shouting, screaming, breaking doors down, throwing furniture around. Like, where are you, Tina? Rah! It's a really good visual as well, because I don't know, a blind zombie. I would.
Oh, why not?
Has that been? Yeah, no, but I mean, had that really been done?
Has that been done? I don't think
at
so.
that point. Do you reckon? I don't.
No, I don't think
so. Off the top of my head, it's a little thing like that. Like it's a different type of.
I mean, no, not at that point. I think there's definitely blind. There's definitely at least one blind one in The Walking Dead that I can think of.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But no, I don't think so. But it's like I mean, that's what I like about zombie films generally, is you get the feature zombies as they are, the ones that, like the one that gets the helicopter chops his head off in Dawn of the Dead, and
his square head.
Yeah, his big square head. And they're always a fun part of any zombie film. Day of the Dead, there's a clown.
Yes, there is.
You see one point up against the fence, and then later on, like right at the end when they break into the silo, see him wandering about as well, and it's like, oh,
that group of zombies on Day of the Dead that are against the fence for all that time, and then they infiltrate the base. It's we talk about an eclectic group of our punks here. That is one hell of an eclectic group of zombies. Yeah, I can't wait till we eventually ever get onto that, which we will. But we've got to obviously do its superior remakes first. So yeah, I guess after Bert has phoned in the zombies, the zombie fun, we get the nuke. Yeah, and
we get the nuke.
The model of Louisville City gets blown up. But
I think it says only 4,000 people were killed.
Yes,
which
very
doesn't
good,
seem. I mean, it's a lot, but it doesn't seem like very much. Really,
Hey, it's not 5,000. Look at it that way.
I mean, I'm not saying it because I wanted more. But it was like, I just can't. But I did kind of think only 4,000. That doesn't seem like very much. Like, and I just felt that like maybe this is this is supposed to be a bigger catastrophe than you're portraying it as, right? It's only 4,000 people, which
there'll be plenty more, because we get full circle with the great last few lines of the film when they're talking about how many deaths have occurred, and talking about how, don't worry, sir, the rain will wash away the fires and the
fires. The rain is already taking care of the fire.
The rain's already taking care of it. Because
it mentions that it's stinging a bit.
And why are we getting rain? Because the nuke went off, which burnt the zombies, which sent their essence into the atmosphere, which caused the rain to come back down, and the circle of life is complete.
Just like your primary school geography
Yeah.
rain cycle lessons.
You've seen that poster on the wall with the circle of arrows.
This film's just got a version with a few extra zombies in it. That's all.
Oh my god! I wonder if it has.
You want to find a version now?
I
like it though. I do. I mean, it's got a great it's got everything I want in a zombie film.
It
ending,
really has.
Really, it's kind of bleak because they nuke a city and nobody survives. Well, I always like a zombie film where nobody survives. I like a horror film generally, but I always like a zombie film where nobody survives.
I like it left ambiguous at times as well.
Yeah.
But
but it's also got some like class sequel baiting in there as well, and it's a great ending. It's a great fun ending to a great fun movie. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, it is, and you're right. It does have everything. That's why I said at the beginning, it's fun. I don't mean fun in a funny, hilarious way. I mean, it's just an enjoyable film. It doesn't need to be. It's not my favorite horror of all time. My favorite horror of all time focuses more on the horror aspect. This does have horror aspects, but it's coated nicely in an enjoyable, like, fun goofiness.
I mean, okay, there's it's not a family friend. It's not a family. Obviously, there's nudity and a lot of gore in there, but it's not far off being like a gateway movie. A gateway movie. It's not.
Oh,
far
completely, yeah. And if you wanted to show it to someone, introduce someone to zombies, I think it's a great one. And if they say that, I don't know, if there was a cut that was a little less blood and gore, I think it's a brilliant entry. It's what actually, when long time ago in the Dreadcast annals and history, we did how to get into horror, and we came up with a list of 10 films, and we kind of categorized them into the different subgenres. And when we went for zombies, we went for Shaun of the Dead, because the comedy kind of helps with the horror aspect of zombies. It kind of puts you at ease a bit more, rather than if zombies do scare you, it's a bit intense for me. Okay, we've got a bit of the fun side to help. I'm okay now. I'm at ease.
I think maybe Shaun of the Dead, the horror is a little bit more. It's just a bit better. It's generally. I think it's just
very much
it's more well constructed. It's presented better. Whereas obviously Return of the Living Dead is a comedy horror, but it's not like it's not funny in the same way that Shaun of the Dead's funny. Like, I don't feel like there are as many like deliberate gags. You know what I mean? There's stuff that's just kind of funny because it's a bit cheesy, I suppose. Whereas there are more like, this is a joke in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. Yeah, it's it's a good pick. But I think this would work equally as well.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm annoyed at myself. I hadn't thought of it at the time, but I think it is. I think it's it's enjoyable fun. That's what it is. And,
I was really looking forward to watching it. Because I'm pretty sure I've showed it off before, but the my favorite horror movie book or books that I've got, and it's various people in the horror industry or genre movie directors talking about their favorite films. Well, this Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead crops up quite a lot. I think that there's at least 3 or 4 people in. I've got the first 2 volumes of that, by the way. And I think at least 3 or 4 people talk about it. Like, it's like I say, I've seen it mentioned in a ton of documentaries and stuff. It's a very obviously well-liked cult classic, like movie. So I was looking forward to seeing it again, in inverted commas, because I don't remember really watching it.
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't remember it. Like, you got a kind of fresh experience with it.
Like I could say, I think the scenes that I remember the most were like maybe that first. I remember like the gas scene. I think that's what I remembered the most. I remembered that, and then maybe in the paramedics bit. But like I said, there's a lot of like famous scenes that crop up a lot. But yeah, I was looking forward to watching it because I recently read and seen a lot of other people talking about their love for it, and I wanted to, you know, to see it for that reason. Did it grab me as much? Probably not. But a lot of these people were talking about how they watched it at a young age, and it was one of their first films that they saw.
Yeah.
And I can totally see why it has cult classic status, and I'd definitely watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've got enough history with it for it to be like, yeah, 100% with you, one of my favorite evers, but definitely would watch it again, 100%. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed it, because I highly recommend this to anyone who's never seen it. I mean, maybe we should always do recommending before we've discussed the whole film. But let's just say you like to start podcasts at the 1 hour 50-minute mark, and yeah, I would say highly recommend Return of the Living Dead. Go watch it. Don't be spoiled. Just go have fun. It's like an hour and a half. Just enjoy. Fun.
It's one of those that I don't think it can be spoiled. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I could quite if I'd not watched it, I could have quite happily had a full conversation and then gone on to watch it. You know,
yeah,
I could have talked to you about it for a couple of hours, as we do, just purely on the bits and pieces that I'd seen or half remembered, and then happily go and watch it. Like, it's not doing anything. There's no like big twist. I mean, I think really more. This is just my personal opinion, but because I'm not that fussy about spoilers generally, unless it's a huge plot twist.
Yeah.
Or something really clever like that, then I've got no qualms about anybody telling me the entire plot of the movie, and I'll go and watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I say, there's really nothing like that in this, where you're gonna be like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming," or "You spoiled that for me." Beforehand, you know.
You're right. There's no big twists that you. Yeah.
It's a fun, schlocky 80s kind of camp, kind of punk.
Very
horror
punk.
film.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, very. You know, and if that sounds like it's appealing, then yeah, go and watch it. It doesn't matter that we've skipped through the plot for you, because it's not Great Expectations. You know what I mean? It's not a piece of like zombie with brains being eaten and a naked girl dancing on a tombstone.
Just one thing. There we go.
What is that? Oh dear.
That, my friend, is the original cadaver.
Yeah, that is not good. It looks. I thought it was like some sort of vegetable.
Yeah,
Like
it's something else.
That is. It's like a little like pea pod man.
It's fucking hilarious. And I also, on my travels along the internet, I found this, which again, all these things, folks, the audio listeners, they are up on the YouTube video. They're just bits to do with the film that I'll pull up, and for YouTube listeners, I found this, kind of alluding to what we were talking about earlier about the sort of timeline, weird universe that all these films sort of fit in, and someone has done a really interesting flowchart of how they all kind of link, again very loosely. And like I said about how Dawn of the Dead is kind of the one where they all start to split off. You continue with George Romero, you go to Fulci's Zombie, you then go over to the remakes of Dawn of the Dead, you go over to Return of the Living Dead. So, there it is. Oh wait, I thought I just saw Russo's Night of the Living Dead re-release. No, Night of the Living Dead is in the middle there. If you see it, then it's
Russo's Living Dead series is at the bottom. So that one,
that's it. Yeah,
there the re-edit. That's the '90s one. So the direct sequel to that is Children of the Living Dead.
Oh God.
Which I have seen and may very well still have a copy of somewhere, and that is a film. That is a film with zombies in it.
What I'm curious about is it's saying it's kind of linked to Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, it is.
Loose sequel.
A loose sequel.
Oh,
I don't know how.
Because Russo's a fucking hack and tried to cling on to a popular film, probably.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. I mean the cause of the zombie outbreak in that is an undead priest or a necromancer priest.
Okay.
It's weird. It's called Abbott Hayes.
I mean,
He's kind of creepy looking. Looks a little bit like Danny Filth.
Okay. It's a pretty well put together flowchart of the zombie series. I mean, you've got the Return of the Living Dead series, which 1, 2, 3 are direct sequels, and then you've got the loose sequels, which aren't great. You've got the Night of the Living Dead's. Oh my god! I mean, Tom Savini's remake. I really like Tom Savini's remake.
I like Tom Savini's. Yeah, I do.
There is the other one, Night of the Living Dead 3D with Sid Haig. I never saw that, but it has got Sid Haig, so I'd give it a chance. The Day of the Dead remake I saw, I think, is
the one with Mina Savarian.
That's the one, and Nick Cannon.
Yeah,
where the zombies can climb up walls, and it's really bad. Yeah. Zombie 2, which is again a whole other thing, because Zombie is Zombie 2, but just labeled in different countries. Zombie 3 is really weird. Didn't know there was a Zombie 4 or 5. But yeah, it's just this weird universe. Weird sort of universe where they're all kind of connected.
You know what links them all? They've all got zombies.
Zombies in it. There we go. What a bookend. With that. I just one more thing. I know I've not really said much, but I just want to get a few notes in this episode.
All right, Columbo, come on.
Just one more.
My wife, she loves you.
I love the score to this film.
Oh,
soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's
the soundtrack's ace.
And the do you wanna party? It's so 80s. It's brilliant. It fits perfectly. And the first one I just did brilliantly there, by the way. It is quite a tense piece of music. Works for zombie film. But then, do you want to party? It's like, what zombie film does that really fit into?
Have you looked in full at the soundtrack? Like,
yeah,
I think all the songs have got like deadbeat dance, eyes without a face. Tonight we'll make love until we die.
Trash's theme.
Surfing Dead. I mean, one thing to be said is it's the Cramps are on here, Straw Dogs, 45
Damned.
Grave, The Damned.
Yeah.
They're all like known as that. I think more other than, but are all sort of like known established punk bands. If you're into your 80s punk rock,
Yeah.
like it's a brilliant, perfect soundtrack for you. But yeah, the titles, the song titles are, I mean, while keeping with the film and maybe to some extent written for the film, I want to say possibly.
Potentially, yeah.
But yeah, they are all sort of like trashy, vaguely, like zombie related, like a spoof Halloween album.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, you're right. It really is. Yeah, that was my last point. I know.
It is worth mentioning. It is, because, like I say, I think and one of the comments in one of those articles on the film was somebody that was like big into punk when they were a kid and feeling like a bit of an outcast, and they felt like Return of the Living Dead was the horror film made for them because it had this like really strong punk aesthetic, and the soundtrack's like legit punk bands making doing their legit music sort of thing. So yeah, it's all good, and glad that it got a little mention there, because it's a good one as far as horror movie soundtrack or any movie soundtracks go. To be fair,
yeah,
it's a banger.
It is indeed. Any final thoughts? Anything else?
Well, I think that about wraps it up for me. Yeah, it's
solid.
Good one to end on.
Yeah, I love this film. I'm very happy. This is our last little one, just for a little break, and we'll be back, which we mentioned in the last few episodes. We'll be back mid or late September. Follow the Instagram and Twitter. There's the shoehorning in of the socials. The _Dreadcast for all the information. We'll be back. The schedule, which I normally post out, will also be posted on the YouTube, which you can find the Dreadcast. You can find all past content in this episode, obviously, and you can find it on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Podbean, or by searching the Dreadcast. Find all the past episodes. Find last week's, which being The Exorcist, which we went for that was a good episode as well. What was I going to say? Yes, September.
We will be back. If you want to drop us another little message in the meantime, our mailbag address is thedreadcastpod@gmail.com. Feel free to.
What's that address?
It is thedreadcastpod@gmail.com. Feel free to drop us a little review, send us a little hello message, make a suggestion, leave some comments. Just whatever you want. We'd love to hear from you.
Just a few moths
and
in there at the moment.
Like, share, tell all your friends, your family, and keep watching the movies.
They keep watching the skis.
Keep watching the skis.
But we will be back. Our first film when we come back.
You're looking at me in anticipation. You know I've forgotten.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 4. Next Generation. Yeah, there's his happy face. There's his happy. Why do you keep forgetting about this amazing horror film that we're going to be talking?
It's been a long couple of weeks, and I watched it, and I just don't want to think about it anymore.
Aidan has decided to leave the Dreadcast after today's episode. He's counted today's episode as the capping off of his tenure on this lovely podcast. And
excuse me,
Tom will be reviewing Matthew McConaughey's seminal film Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation in the coming weeks. So yeah, stay tuned, folks, and until next time,
stay spooky.
Stay spooky.